Miami, the city of endless summers, where dreams are built in glass towers and palm-lined streets hide quiet battles for survival. For years, this was paradise, a symbol of wealth, sun, and unshakable confidence. But beneath the skyline's golden glow, something's cracking. Investors whisper it, homeowners feel it, and now the data confirms it. Miami has just been ranked the #1 housing bubble in the entire world. It's not just another headline, it's a warning. South Florida, once a playground of prosperity, is now standing on the edge of something that looks eerily familiar. Prices that shot up like rockets are now wobbling midair. Families who dreamed of owning a home are being priced out completely. And even seasoned real estate veterans are asking the question no one wants to face. What happens when the dream becomes unsustainable? In the past few years, the median price of a single-family home in Miami has jumped over 70% since 2019. Across the nation, the average home climbed 50%. But here, the climb was steeper, faster, and riskier. UBS Global Wealth Management calls it what it is, a bubble. Not a small one, the world's biggest. For the second year in a row, the signs are subtle until they're not. More listings are appearing, buyers are retreating, and affordability has collapsed under the weight of soaring mortgage rates and exploding insurance costs. So the question becomes, is Miami still a paradise of opportunity, or is it standing at the doorstep of another housing disaster? Let's rewind. In October 2025, the UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index released its latest global ranking, a yearly report that analyzes property markets across the world to identify where prices are dangerously inflated. And once again, Miami came out on top. According to UBS, the definition of a housing bubble is a substantial and sustained mispricing of homes. In simpler terms, when people start paying more for property than what the fundamentals income, rent, and local economy can actually justify. And that's exactly what's happening in South Florida. Over the past 6 years, the Miami-Fort Lauderdale-West Palm Beach region has seen home prices soar by at least 70%. Single-family homes that once sold for $400,000 now easily cross the $700,000 mark. The problem? Incomes haven't kept up. The median household income in the region is around $76,000, enough to comfortably afford a $300,000 home, less than half of what the typical property now costs. Jonathan Woloshin, head of U.S. real estate research at UBS, put it bluntly. The risk levels are higher. But here's the paradox. Miami's economy remains strong. Job growth is steady, and unemployment sits at just 3.7%, one of the lowest among major U.S. metros. People are still moving in, especially from out of state, often bringing higher incomes that help sustain the inflated market. Economists like Gay Kororitan from the Miami Association of Realtors argue that the price appreciation is not purely speculative. She insists it's driven by demand and supply fundamentals, meaning real people still want to live here, and there aren't enough homes to meet that demand. Yet, even she admits, is it overdone to the upside? It's certainly possible. It's a delicate balance. And history has shown that when affordability and speculation collide, even paradise can fall hard. To understand what's happening now, you have to look at what built this bubble in the first place. Miami's housing surge began long before this report. After the pandemic, a flood of new buyers, remote workers, wealthy investors, and corporate relocators arrived in South Florida. They were chasing freedom, lifestyle, and tax advantages. The influx triggered a frenzy. Sellers raised prices weekly. Bidding wars became the norm. Realtors couldn't keep listings online for more than a few hours, and with interest rates still low back then, everyone believed the boom would never end. But every wave, no matter how powerful, eventually crashes. As the Federal Reserve began hiking rates, the cost of borrowing doubled. A 3% mortgage turned into 7%, and monthly payments skyrocketed. Insurance premiums followed, driven by hurricanes, flooding risks, and rising construction costs. What used to be affordable for a middle-class family suddenly became unreachable. This is where the bubble forms not overnight, but layer by layer. First comes optimism, then euphoria, then denial. Prices keep climbing even when logic says they shouldn't. Experts like Woloshin warn that what's happening in Miami isn't irrational yet, but it's dangerously close. You could argue it's overdone, he says. Why? Because the math doesn't add up anymore. When the average income can only support a $300,000 home and the median price sits above $600,000, the gap between affordability and reality becomes a canyon. And no matter how strong demand looks on paper, that gap eventually swallows confidence. But what makes this moment different from 2008 is that the foundation of Miami's market isn't built on bad loans, it's built on real demand. People still want to live here, companies are still expanding here, and the local job market for now remains healthy. That's why this bubble feels confusing. It's real and unreal at the same time. There's another twist in the story: Florida's property tax debate. Governor Ron DeSantis has publicly supported reducing or even eliminating local property taxes, a move that could fuel the market even more. The logic is simple: cut taxes, raise affordability, but experts warn it might do the opposite. If you eliminate property taxes, home values will likely surge further, pricing out even more locals. It's a wild card that could shift the balance again, making housing more political than ever before. And yet, Miami's attraction remains magnetic. Its sun-soaked lifestyle, booming business sector, and reputation as a global gateway city keep pulling people in. International buyers see Miami as a safe haven for wealth. Domestic migrants see it as a better life. Everyone wants a piece of the dream. But dreams are fragile. Behind the glossy new towers and beachside estates, many families are quietly leaving. Renters are moving inland. First-time buyers are giving up entirely. Builders are holding unsold units. And investors, the same ones who pushed prices sky high, are slowly testing the waters, wondering if it's time to cash out before the music stops. That's how every cycle begins its descent, not with a crash, but with hesitation. The air gets thinner, confidence fades, and the market that once felt unstoppable begins to question itself. If this continues, we might not see an outright collapse, but a long, grinding correction, the kind that reshapes entire neighborhoods. To see where Miami could be headed, look back at history. In 2008, the last time America's housing market truly imploded, Florida was ground zero. Back then, easy credit and speculative flipping pushed prices to impossible heights until it all collapsed under its own weight. Homes sat empty, construction stopped, entire neighborhoods were left half-built. But today's Miami is different, and yet eerily similar. This time, the danger isn't reckless lending, it's affordability. The system isn't collapsing from within, it's tightening from above. Mortgage rates, insurance premiums, and taxes have all risen to levels unseen in decades. The result is the same: fewer buyers, more listings, and a slow, painful cooling of the market. And it's not just Miami. Across the U.S., cities like Austin, Phoenix, and Boise are also feeling the hangover of pandemic-era price explosions, but none are as globally exposed as Miami. When UBS calls Miami the world's #1 bubble risk, it's not just about prices, it's about vulnerability. Miami's economy leans heavily on real estate. Developers, agents, and contractors make up a massive slice of local employment. If prices stagnate or fall, it ripples through everything from construction jobs to small businesses to tourism spending. Add in the state's unique climate risks: hurricanes, flooding, sea level rise, and you've got a market where every year brings new uncertainty. Insurance companies have already begun pulling out of Florida, driving premiums to record highs. For many homeowners, insurance now costs more than property taxes. It's a quiet squeeze, but it changes everything. Imagine trying to buy your first home, only to realize your insurance quote adds an extra $1,000 to your monthly payment. That's not sustainable, and it's pushing the next generation of Floridians out of their own state. Still, despite the risks, foreign investors keep coming. To them, Florida's volatility is just part of its identity. Sunshine, opportunity, and reinvention, that's what Miami sells best. And maybe that's the point. Miami isn't just a market. It's a story, one that repeats with new characters, new fortunes, and new lessons every decade. The question is, how long can that story keep repeating before the ending changes for good? So, what does this all mean for Miami and for Florida's dream of endless growth? Maybe the answer lies between truth and illusion. Miami's housing market isn't collapsing, but it's not invincible either. It's strong, but fragile, booming, yet brittle. The numbers tell one story: record prices, historic demand, and global attention. But the people living it, the families, renters, and small investors, tell another: a story of pressure, anxiety, and fading hope. This city has always walked that line, between ambition and excess, between opportunity and overreach. And now, as UBS once again crowns Miami the most at-risk housing market on earth, one can't help but wonder, is this the beginning of a correction, or the quiet setup for something much bigger? Because here's the truth. Bubbles don't burst all at once. They deflate slowly, one decision, one hesitation, one unsold listing at a time. And when they finally pop, it's never just numbers that fall, it's people. So maybe the real question isn't whether Miami's bubble will burst, but who will be left standing when it does. As the sun sets on South Florida's shimmering skyline, the dream still shines bright, but the cracks beneath it are growing louder. And perhaps, in the story of Miami, every boom carries its own echo, waiting for the moment it finally breaks the silence.